We all appreciate it. It's candidates night, and thank you very much, candidates, for being here also. My name is Linda James, and I am on the election committee, so I will be the moderator. Before we begin, I'm going to give you an overview of the meeting so you know what to expect. The meeting should last approximately 2 hours. We have 5 candidates running for 2 seats. They're 2-year terms. Joe Fedorowski, Chris Huff, Dan Canier, Danielle Kirby, and Steve Meyerson. We expect that there will be 30 to 45 minutes for homeowner questions at the conclusion of the candidates' portion. In planning the event, the election committee defined their objectives. They are: 1, ask relevant and meaningful questions of the candidates. The questions were sent to the candidates within the last 3 days. Give all candidates the same amount of time to answer each question. The time to answer will be enforced in the following manner. A yellow warning paddle will be displayed when there are 30 seconds remaining. A red paddle will be displayed when time's up. If the candidate does not stop speaking within 30 seconds after the red paddle is displayed, the microphone will be turned off. And that did not happen last night, so we're okay. Each candidate will be given 3 minutes for their opening statement and 2 minutes for their closing statement. In between, each candidate will be asked 4 questions along with the amount of time that we've allocated per question. The election committee believes homeowner questions are an essential part of this meeting, so keeping the candidate portion on time is important. Lastly, homeowners can take no longer than 30 seconds to ask their question, so we can get in as many questions as possible. Specify which candidate or candidates the question is directed to, and the homeowners, unless there is a physical reason why not, we'd appreciate it if you would come walking up here to ask your questions. So, no questions from the audience. We are ready to begin. So we'd like to start with the opening statements, and we have 3 minutes. Make sure that I'm correct on that. Yes, opening statements, 3 minutes each. Steve, would you like to begin?
Sure. Welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm Steve Meyerson.
Please stand.
Sorry?
Please stand. A short
Difficulty
ones could
hearing.
see you.
No, she wants to see you, so
More
stand
people
up.
Oh.
see you. Could you please stand?
I thought the next one was dance on the table.
We can try that too.
Hello.
Thank you.
There's
to the mic.
some difficulty in hearing me.
Yeah, thank you. Should be on.
I guess this is on.
Yeah.
So I'm a candidate for the Somerset Owners Association. I bring to the position a background that involves a great deal of inquiry, oversight, investigation, and preparation for testimony both in civil courts and criminal courts and Congress. I'm not bothered by numbers. I have an accounting and an economics degree and an additional degree in management. So I look forward to assisting the board in the activities that relate to all of us. I must relate to you a story that in 2006, when my wife and I moved here, we were bicycle riding. And it was a very hot day. We came in here to fill our water bottles. And there was a lovely lady who said, "Where do you live?" We said, "We live down one of the other roundabouts." Her response was, "Well, you can't fill your water bottles here." That struck me as very strange, and I continue to think about it. I continue to think about whether or not there's a schism, some kind of rift, some kind of disjoinder between the roundabouts, if you will, Sierra Canyon versus the other areas. I'm terribly sorry about that, but what I will promise you as a candidate for the Somerset Owners Association Board, that I will do everything I possibly can to make this a more cohesive group, to make sure that the rulings, the adjudications, if you will, the activities of the board represent all of us equally. Thank you.
Hello, I'll stand. My name is Chris Huff, and I moved to Somerset 2 years ago from Wisconsin. So, like many of us, I'm a transplant from another state, and work brought me to the community. My wife Rachel and I looked for a place like Somerset, and we looked at a lot of different communities here in Reno, and we're very happy that we selected a home here in Somerset. We purchased our last home in December, so I'm a relatively new homeowner. Something that I explained yesterday, and I'm going to repeat myself for those that are going to watch both videos frequently here, I'll be repeating myself, is that I've only known Somerset the past 2 years. And I feel that that's an advantage for me as a candidate to represent neighbors and homeowners. I don't know Somerset when it started, 10, 12 years ago. And I think having a fresh perspective will help me as I learn what the issues are with the homeowners board and what our neighbors have to say about certain topics. I have 2 small children, a first grader at Westergaard, and today was a scary day. We're very involved with the Washoe County School District, and something that got brought up yesterday was safety and security in the community. My daughter is a preschooler at the Goddard School, which is right outside our neighborhood. The reason I'm running, I have no strings attached. I do not belong to the golf course. I don't have a local business. I work for a national company that has a regional office here. I do a lot of traveling. But the reason I am running is that I want to be involved. And I have great neighbors, and we socialize a lot. I think there's a lot of misinformation that's communicated. And I'd really like to get involved, be engaged in the community, and really make this the best place that it can be for all community members. And something that I'm learning here recently, just in the last day, is that there may be different issues here in this community as part of the master plan community. And I'm encouraged that so many people are here tonight, and I'm looking forward to meeting everyone and really learning what's on your mind. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Danielle Kirby. I am currently on the Homeowners Association Board of Directors, acting as Vice President. It took a lot of time to make the decision to run again. I'm a working real estate professional, have been for 13 years, and over the past year on the board, there have been a lot of issues to address here in Somerset. Namely, well, let me take a step back. That being said, I work in real estate, so coming onto the board, I felt I had a good working knowledge of homeowners associations, the real estate market, and the Nevada revised statutes, the laws that govern both real estate and homeowners associations. And I will say that I've been through an amazing learning curve. Some of my responsibilities on the Homeowners Association have included the Strategic Planning Committee, the liaison between the board and the club at Town Center, along with being on the task force to work towards a positive solution with the Somerset Golf and Country Club and resolving the inquiry by the Attorney General's office. So, with all of that being said,
today, not a lot of Nevada HOAs can say. And it is my belief that as long as we make that our number one priority, we have the latitude to do many, many things to improve Somerset. But without a solid financial footing, we'll always be compromised in the future. I believe that my professional experience, 31 years as a financial professional with Caterpillar, as well as my educational background, gives me the experience and the expertise to contribute to that. As far as my platform, if you will, I pledge that I would engage all homeowners on major financial decisions. That is, where major financial contracts are involved, particularly if those contracts are contentious, they should be put to a vote of the homeowners. I believe the board should always conduct cost-benefit analysis on any new contracts. Thirdly, the competitive bids should be taken on all new contracts. And lastly, I will oppose any fee increases without first putting them to a homeowner vote. I believe in transparency, and I want to hear from residents, and in that regard, I've developed a website, www.voteforkeener.wordpress.com, which I'll be sending to you, and I encourage you to respond to some of the questions I've got there so I can hear what's on your mind, and hopefully take that with me when I'm elected to the board.
Before we begin the questioning, what I would like to do, you reminded me of the terrible tragedy there. If we just take a moment to just give our thoughts to what happened. Okay, why don't we go ahead and begin with question number one. And how about Chris, we'll start with you on that one. And we'll go that way and then around, and we'll be finishing up. The first question is, are you conversant and knowledgeable about the association's governing documents, the CC&Rs, the bylaws, and the Nevada statutes regulating homeowners association? If not, if you are not, how will you educate yourself about these governing documents? Please explain your position regarding the relevance and importance of the governing documents. And there's 2 minutes to answer.
Okay, thank you. I think it was explained really well yesterday by this gentleman here that when we all sign the documents to be part of this community, we signed a stack of them. So just to be transparent, I will have to learn all the rules and regulations and the Nevada statutes that we need to abide by. How do I plan to do that? I will most likely lean on the current board members, what their experience, what resources they went to first, and to have them mentor me in those areas. I do feel that they are important. I think there's standards in this community that were established for a reason. Whether those standards need to be changed or modified or looked at, that's something that I'm sure the board has already considered, and I'd like to know what the neighbors have to say about those issues as well. But I'm not an expert in these areas, and I don't want to pretend that I am, but I am committed to getting up to speed, for lack of a better term, in these important documents, rules, and regulations. Again, I feel that they're very important. I think the board has a responsibility to its homeowners group and to the fellow neighbors to be up to speed and well read in these important matters.
Thank you. Danielle?
I will say that I'm much more conversant and knowledgeable than I was a year ago. With that being said, I cannot profess to know every single CC&R governing doc and NRS revised statute. However, I do know that in working with the current board, if there's something we don't know, we go to every means possible to find out. We want to make sure that we're making decisions for the betterment of our community, for all of our homeowners and residents here. So again, I will say that I do have a good working knowledge, but again, not everything. And in the event we don't know, We research and we go to our legal team to find out, to make sure that we are making the right decisions. Thank you.
Am I conversant? I am, yes. The governing documents are highly important, and completely relevant to the board's governance of the association. As the CCNR acronym implies, these are the covenants, conditions, and restrictions that we all signed on to when we purchased our homes in Somerset. They set high standards under which we expect the homes, amenities, and the community to be maintained in perpetuity. These standards are generally higher than those that are the minimum set by government. It is these higher standards that add value to our homes and contribute to a higher quality of life here in Somerset and Sierra Canyon. The bylaws and chapter NRS, Nevada Revised Statutes, chapter 116, which is on common interest ownership, augment the CCNRs by outlining the authority of the board, the committees, management companies, and even the owners. Among other things, they include the methods and details of operation and enforcement. House rules adopted from time to time by the board of directors further refine and interpret the CCNRs. An effective board and effective property management company are key to the CCNRs being enforced fairly, uniformly, and consistently. Keeping current through continuing education is important for the board of directors with respect to the Nevada Revised Statutes and the various regulations that apply to CCNRs. And I just want to show that this year, not being on the board, I did attend the 2013 legislative update and also attended other courses, continuing education courses in anticipation of running for this position. Thank you.
Yeah, I am conversant with the CCNRs to the extent that when there are issues that have come up where I needed to research what the CCNR said, I could go to them, look it up. I've also gone to look at NRS 116 to see what it had to say on various issues. And as someone else said, we have very good resources within the Somerset Management Company and our legal team to deal with any issues that might be too complex to deal with in a straightforward manner. I do believe that the enforcement of the CCNRs is very important, and I'm not one of those who takes very lightly to looking for loopholes to get around the CCNRs. There are ways to change the CCNRs if someone feels strongly enough that they want to do that. But otherwise, we all signed on for it, that's what it is, and we need to make sure that we all live by it. I've attended Community Association Institute seminars going back to when I first started participating with the Gang of Five on selected issues that were of importance, mainly collections issues. I attended the recent one on legislative changes, one on contracts, and will step up that activity should I become a member of the board. As far as the last question, the last comment explained your position regarding the relevance and importance of the governing documents, I think they are the word. And unless you want to change the word, we just have to live with it.
Steve?
Must I stand again? Thank you.
What's this up? Thank you.
I don't think there's a soul in this room that doesn't realize that these governing documents are critical to effective leadership and management on the Somerset Homeowners Association. I know exactly what I did with my CCNRs. I can almost see them on the shelf. Have I studied them recently? No, I have not. Have I looked at all the revised statutes with regard to nonprofit organizations such as this? No, I have not. But research, review, preparation is something I've done all my life professionally. There is no question in my mind, with the help of people who are already serving on the board and other groups that assist the board, I will know where to go and I will understand what needs to be done. So, no, I'm not an expert. I would be kidding myself if I said I was, but I will be conversant as necessary on those issues that affect each and every one of us throughout Somerset. Thank you. I think I missed part of this question yesterday. With regard to the relevance, I guess I started off with that. So we'll leave it as it is.
Thank you. Danielle, we'll start with you. The next question is, how much of your time do you believe a board position will require on a weekly basis? What committees do you envision yourself contributing to? It's 2 minutes.
Last night I answered on average about 4 hours a week, and I had several of my fellow board members come up to me and go, wait a minute, Danielle, you spent 12 hours alone in court regarding the Moana settlement just last week. So I'm going to amend my answer from last night, only because in my mind, my thought was, on average, about 4 hours a week in meetings. That doesn't include all the other things that I do outside of being in meetings. I can say that there is a lot that goes into being on the board in terms of time, and in my mind, I'm going to take the time necessary to make sure that what needs to get done gets done. Also, what do I envision myself contributing to? Again, I've been part of the strategic planning committee. I've been the liaison for the town center and on the task force for the country club. I'd like to remain in those positions. If there's someone else who, wants to take lead on those and there's other openings, I'm flexible as to how our new board's going to look and work. I think that's it.
Thank you. Joe?
How much time weekly? Well, I've been on a lot of boards. I've spent some time with the finance committee and have observed some of the current board of directors, particularly the president of the current board. But based on what I see that the board has on its table, at least for the first half of 2014, I'm estimating 15 to 20 hours a week is going to be the requirement. Every hour of meeting time, whether it be a regular board meeting, executive session, committee meeting, workshop, court, generally requires 2 to 3 hours or more of reading and research prep time. As far as committees, I would like to continue on the finance committee. It keeps me in touch with the budgeting, the annual audit, reserve studies, reserve fund investments, and some upcoming tasks that the finance committee is going to deal with in terms of long-range financial planning and perhaps some debt management. I also have the time and skills to constructively assist the board in resolving pending legal and technical issues involved with, first, the construction defect and reserve fund deficiency claims against the developer. And then also, I would be interested in participating or at least assisting with the restructuring of the country club access and amenities agreement. I'm certainly willing to serve in other areas as needed, dispute resolution, mediation, oversight of our legal counsel, collection of delinquent accounts, and consultant oversight.
I would expect that the position will take 1 day to 2 days a week. from my perspective, it's whatever it takes. I'd like to continue to serve on the Finance Committee because I think that's where my background and expertise is best used. And I would like to serve on the Liaison on the Country Club Committee because I've done a lot of work on that as well. But really, those are the areas, the financial areas, to where I think I offer the best expertise to the rest of the board members.
Steve?
Yesterday afternoon, I said 10 to 12 hours. I was trumped by one of my colleagues here who raised the numbers on me. All I can tell you is that whatever time it takes will be the time that I'll put into the work of the SOA. In case I didn't mention to you, I'm retired. I do have time. And I'm figuring, since I work with another board, a much smaller board, that 10 to 12, 10 to 15 hours, whatever it takes to get the job done, when those assignments require additional research, that additional time will be available to me. I have no demanding requirements with regard to my time. My wife is employed, and we sometimes see each other during the course of the week. With regard to the two committees that seem to appeal to me, my background, as I indicated, is in accounting and economics in management and economic financial crimes. So you would think I would automatically lean toward the Finance Committee, but I know some of the people who are working with these committees already. I think they're excellent, and I will contribute my time and effort wherever it's best served. I am interested in the community standards and the strategic planning activity because we still have over 1,100 home sites that need to be developed. So at this point, those would be an area of interest to me. Thank you.
Well, I think Danielle was probably the most qualified person to answer this question, and I think she answered it very well, that it depends greatly on a weekly basis, depending on the needs of the issues at hand. At first, when I looked at this question, I envisioned a 4-hour commitment per week, but I can see that some weeks may be slower and others demand more time based on what's happening in the community. So I think it's a little tricky in terms of giving you a quick answer in terms of how many hours per week, but I envision that it's most likely a 4-hour commitment per week, and that will fluctuate as needed. In terms of committees, when I reviewed this question, I have an undergraduate degree in economics and a master's degree in management, and I thought that I would be a good selection for the Finance Committee and Strategic Planning Committee. But I read everyone's biographies that are running, and we have some very talented people already serving in those committees. And I think that you've already heard that here so far this evening. And I don't know if I'd be best served in the Finance and Strategic Planning Committee. What I would like to do is ask the board, if I were elected, which committee is most underserved. Typically, in any type of organization, there's a committee or two that need more participation. And I would like to be willing to get involved in those committees. They may not be the ones with the hottest buttons to push or have the biggest decisions to make, but they still need representation. And those are the ones that I'd like to get involved in quickly. I said this yesterday, I'd like to say it again. I think that the selection this year is going to be easy for our neighbors because you have 5 people here that are very engaged, that want to participate, and that will do well in any committee that they serve on.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next question, I'll read it and then we'll be starting with Joe. There have been ongoing diverse discussions regarding SOA issues within the community. For example, the SGCC lease agreement, future property expansion, and the reserves. What are your specific views on these topics? Additionally, what do you see as the board's financial responsibilities related to these issues? The question is for 3 minutes. The answer is 3 minutes. Thanks. We'll start with Joe.
Thank you. First, with respect to the SGCC lease agreement, boils down to 2 or 3 fundamental issues. The first and foremost is transparency. Many feel there was not enough community input regarding the amenities to be delivered under the lease. Generally, major expenditures for new amenities require a homeowner vote. The developer apparently felt that the lease form trumped the substance of what was being done. Going forward, as a person without a country club conflict of interest, I would offer to participate in the renegotiation of a fair and equitable lease agreement so that this can be brought to a homeowner vote within well within the time specified by the state attorney general's forbearance agreement. I have no interest in seeing the golf course go brown. Just would like to make that clear. With respect to future property and expansion, my interpretation of this question is that had to do with property expansion with respect to the town center, the clubhouse amenities. As the community continues to grow from about 2,500 homes to roughly 3,300 homes, as is already approved, if it becomes apparent that expansion of amenity facilities is needed, then I feel that the board should pursue that in an open and transparent way, including a homeowner vote. If approved by the homeowners, I believe that such an expansion could be creatively financed in such a way that neither a special assessment nor major dues increase would be required. Reserves. I believe that reserves should be adequately funded in each of the sub-funds that Somerset has. There is pending litigation with the developer regarding reserves, so I'm not going to say any more on that at this time. Construction defects, an issue not on the list, is that notwithstanding the overall, I think, excellent job done by the developer, he would have to be accountable for any TCTC, Town Center, and Canyon 9 construction defects. The claims surfaced by the current board should be prudently advanced. The board acts in a fiduciary capacity and must always act in a prudent manner. Everything the board does should be accomplished in the most cost-effective manner. This is often, however, in the context of delivering amenities and services to homeowners and their families. Thus, there is always a very delicate cost-benefit balance that must be struck. Thank you.
I worked for Caterpillar for 31 years, and during that time, I believe I worked through either 5 or 6 recessions, depending on how you define them. And if there's one thing I learned through that whole experience, it was you manage your business for the bad times. The good times take care of themselves. And for that reason, I believe that it's so important to maintain a financially strong SOA. On reserves, they need to be fully funded so that we don't get into a situation like we did a few years ago, where we're robbing money from the reserves or, quote, underfunding them in order to pay operating expenses. And now we're just getting back to where we're getting the reserves replenished up to the levels we feel we want to have them. And in that regard, I believe, personally, reserves should be fully funded. So we don't have to worry in the bad times about whether or not we have the funds to take care of all of our assets here, which make up the real value of our property. On the Somerset Country Club agreement, I got together with a group that used to be known as the Gang of Five. Before that agreement was implemented, and tried to engage people to take another look at it. I felt at that time that it should be put to a vote of all homeowners, and that it did not appear to me to offer very good value for the money that we were paying. No cost-benefit analysis was done before the decision was made. The contract was implemented, and I think the whole process was wrong. I don't think that's the way we'll proceed in the future. As far as the question on the board's financial responsibilities, I think NRS 116 is very clear on the fiduciary responsibilities of board members. And because that is a law in Nevada, we will all be held accountable on that law.
See?
In preparation for speaking with the two groups tonight and yesterday afternoon, clearly I did as much reading as possible. I should inform you initially that I enjoy playing golf. And I'm also concerned about the value of my home and your homes. And so I must tell you that I'm not interested in seeing the country club, the 18-hole golf course, go brown. Now, with regard to the disadvantages that seem to have been exercised in the prior lease agreement by the developer, obviously the state also has some concerns about that, and that's why there's an extended period of time to come up with an agreement. As a golfer, and incidentally I'm not an equity golfer, but I do play when I can, I am one of the golfers who is not interested in vast expansion of the country club unless it's fully funded and not on the backs of folks who do not play or folks who have nothing to do with the country club. I feel rather strongly about that, as strongly as I feel that the country club should remain in existence as best it can on the revenues that it can generate. With regard to future property expansion, I happen to live in an area where I believe the pictorials, the diagrams show quite a few additional homes. I'm not quite sure where that stands at this point, but I would be concerned, I am concerned, that the development of these additional home sites meet all the standards that are presently within the Homeowners Association, our CC&Rs, and I will work toward ensuring that that continues to take place. With regard to the reserves, I understand that the August 13 figures are in excess of $3 million. But I'm also aware that there are a number of contingencies that remain to be dealt with, and there are some capital improvements that are planned that need to take place, and those are all issues that may consume a good portion of the reserves. I'm not concerned about the balance of the reserves at this point. With regard to the board's financial responsibilities, I think it was said earlier, as a board member, each of us would have fiduciary responsibility to make sure that we carry out your interests, as best as possible. Thank you.
Chris?
Thank you. As I said earlier, I'm not a member of the country club. I did play the course on Saturday, and I was very encouraged to see the building that's going on around the country club. And my father-in-law and I played 9 holes, and we saw in the view they were building, some new homes. And I found that very encouraging. I'm not here to say the economy is getting better, but whenever there's new construction, I think that's a positive sign. The challenge with a lot of these topics, especially the lease agreement, is that these are topics that are dividing us as neighbors. As I said earlier, I think there's a lot of misinformation out there. And as we talk in social settings, very quickly we can identify which side of the fence you are on. And I think what most people agree on is that they want to see the golf courses prosper and do well. The thing I believe I offer as someone that's running for the board is a fresh perspective. I don't know all the history that happened when this course was built and the community was built, and I think that that's a positive thing. I know what the course is today, and we need to do something moving forward so that it is successful and that it serves the purpose that it was meant for in this community. In terms of future property expansion, this is one that speaks dearly to me. I spoke at the Washoe County School District Board meeting several times because in Northwest Reno, people want to move here. This is a very popular area. and more homes are being built, more families are moving here, and there's overcrowding in schools, especially the elementary schools. And they potentially will do a rezoning because the schools are at capacity and are tearing down things such as libraries and adding more modular buildings. And that's a very hot topic. So the thing with expansion is, you know, when I look at that, I want to make sure that we do it strategically. If we are adding new homes, do we have quality home builders? Do we have the standards that we want for our community? Expansion is great. We want to see things grow, but we want to do it in the wisest way possible. You know, what I've learned already this evening, socializing with people, is that you know, things get busy, and when we add more homes, things will get busier. This morning I worked out at the town center and I had to wait for a treadmill. Is that a big deal? Not really. I waited a half hour and I was trying to be as patient as possible. But if another 1,000 homes are built, you know, more people are going to use those amenities. So I think strategically we need to, you know, look at the expansion not only in what we're doing with different properties, but also with the amenities that we currently have. And as Steve said, we have $3 million in reserves. Is that enough? Is it too much? I think those are good questions that we'll have to answer as a board, and what our neighbors and homeowners feel is a comfortable amount in reserves. Thank you.
I have to be careful with what I can and can't say. In regards to the issues we face here, specifically the country club, one of the reasons that Jason and I bought here is, you know, you come through that first roundabout and you drop down and you kind of see the valley of Somerset, and you see that that golf course is a vein that goes through this community and affects, number one, the status of our community, creates us, you know, sets us apart as a premier community. It, you know, increases our property value. And I think that those are important things for all of us as residents and as homeowners, making the right decisions to protect our property value and our homes. So it's a topic that's near and dear to me because I've spent 10 months in looking at the current lease agreement and looking at a better solution, looking for a win-win to keep that country club, the grass green, and to make sure that our homeowners are getting value for whatever agreement we have in place. And I think that that's very important. In regards to future property expansion, one of the things that we know is that our aquatics facilities need more room. We know that we need more exercise equipment and a larger workout center. And these are all things that need to be addressed along with more home building. These are things that you can't erect overnight. These are things that take a lot of planning, a lot of saving, and a plan, because it's not something that you can just say, we're going to build a new pool. We have to make sure that, one, we have a plan in place, then we have to dedicate funds. And you have to make sure that you're doing that all per NRS revised statutes. So again, it's not something that we can just say, hey, we want all these things and we're gonna snap our fingers and have them happen. There is a thorough process that we go through in making sure that these items are addressed. In regards to the reserves, we have 3 cost centers. Right now, streets and gates are funded the reserves are funded at 97%. General Common is funded at 90%. And the club at Town Center is at 60%. So yes, do we need to look at those reserves? Absolutely. But as more homes are being built, we have 1,100 more homes that have the potential to be built here. Those are assessments that we will be collecting, and hopefully no increase in assessments that are being paid. Thanks.
Okay, we're on the last question. Do you feel any portion of the community is over or underserved with regard to amenities or services? How do you assure the best interests of the association are represented by your actions? We have 3 minutes, and this time we're going to start with Dan.
You know, I was a little stumped by this question, to be honest with you. I think the planning committee has done a survey which provided a great deal of detail in laying out what homeowners' preferences are. And for me, that would be the most important document to guide how future amenities are developed. I think it's very important that all homeowners' input be solicited on these things, and therefore priorities be set on what homeowners want. That's really all I would say.
I would agree a recent homeowner survey is a very valuable tool in responding to this question. The survey improvements that were most often requested were in the area of aquatics, additional cardio equipment, trail systems, and security. So I think these would be the areas that would be top of mind for the board of directors. Monitoring complaints is another way for evaluating this question. As the pace of growth of new homes in certain neighborhoods has occurred, the association has found that its fixed landscaping contract was not keeping up with the growing areas that needed to be maintained. As a result, the Finance Committee has recommended an increase in funding for landscaping for 2014 to meet these additional requirements. Other than this, I'm not aware of any portions of the community that feel over or underserved. Long-range planning and periodic surveys should always be tools for measuring and responding to changing preferences over time. And as Danielle may have mentioned, some things are easy to respond to, I won't say easy, but are easier to respond to, like the landscaping maintenance. Others, capital improvements, are a little more difficult and have a much more tedious process.
I think we got out of order, but
We did, but that's all right.
all right. In regards to our community and amenities and services, the strategic planning committee and our communications committee just did a survey over the summer, and the 3 top issues were aquatics, workout facilities, and our trail system. One, I will tell you that tomorrow we are getting 7 new treadmills, 7 new ellipticals, and a couple of other machines installed. So we do hear you. One of the frustrations with that survey was that we got 500 responses, or actually I think it was more like 700. My point being is that 20% of our community speak up. We only hear from 20% of people. 20% of people tend to do all the work. The other 80% of the people that we don't hear from are happy. They like where they live. They enjoy what Somerset has to offer, because if they didn't, we would hear from them. So one of the challenges we face as a board of directors is addressing the issues that we know of because people tell us, but then also talking to our neighbors and hearing things from people that are not going to fill out a survey, that don't respond because they are happy. 40% of our homeowners, 40% of our community is under the age of 18 right now. So what does that mean? That means that we're going to have more people with those 1,100 homes. You know, Chris talked about the schools. We're going to have more kids in this community, and how do we address those items? Parents who are at home, who are shuffling kids from baseball practice to soccer practice, are not going to be the people who are attending our homeowners meetings. These are things that, again, we need to be champions in our neighborhoods, finding out what it is that is important to our community. These are the things that are in the best interest of our homeowners now and in the future. I believe that, and I'm getting a yellow card, I believe that we need to address these amenities. Again, you know, there's a systematic way that we have to do that, but we are going to be faced with challenges of a growing community, and especially a young community, which, again, I think that having younger, family-oriented people bring a lot to our homeowners board of directors. Thank you.
Most of us moved to Somerset because of the current amenities and services, and that's something that really surprised me when I moved here, is how many people are out and about during the day, whether they're going for a walk with their dog or going for a jog or bicycle riding. It seems that people really enjoy living here, and as I prepared for this evening, I went to the homeowner's website, and you can see all the amenities that both community centers provide. And I think it's really a compliment to the staff and how well these two facilities are managed. If something isn't successful for an event, it gets canceled. And if one is in its infancy, it gets developed for the next year. And most of the events that I've attended and my family has attended, the people that are hosting want feedback. And usually the question is, how can we make this better? And I think that's fantastic. Something that I explained last night, I'd like to share it again today, is that, 2 years ago, if someone would have said to me, what do you think of the tennis courts? I would have said, bulldoze them. I have no personal, emotional attachment to that amenity. But now, my son Eli and my daughter Ivy have started to take tennis lessons with John at the town center. So now my answer would be, whoa, don't touch the tennis courts. Those are important to me now. So I think that's one of the challenges, is that we all are emotionally attached to certain amenities. And I think as a board member, I would need to be aware of that. That even though I think it's a great idea and it would impact me, it may not be the best thing for my neighbors. It may not be the best timing for our community. I'd love to see another park. Does it make sense? Do we have space for it? Do we have funding for it? I don't have the answers to that. That's an amenity I would enjoy, and I think others would as well. But I would try my best not to push my personal agenda or things that would just benefit me or my family. But overall, we're very satisfied with the amenities in this community. That's the feedback I get most of the time when I'm visiting with people, is when they talk about Somerset, there's an emotional attachment to something that this community offers them. Whether that's playing pool in the room next door, or going to a class, or enjoying the pools. Thank you.
In August, the Communications Subcommittee reported that they received 515 responses, 25 of which came from one household. But one of the most delightful things that I read in preparing for this is, quote, one of the first items to note from the survey response is that the respondents, disprove the notion that Del Webb Sierra Canyon is unique from the rest of Somerset. The survey responses show that Del Webb Sierra Canyon to be similar to Somerset overall throughout the survey. I know many of you are living here in the Sierra Canyon area. Would you agree with that? Did you submit your responses?
No.
Nor did I. That doesn't make me a happy camper, especially when I go bicycle riding and I see broken glass along the bicycle path. There are things that I'm hoping to improve upon. Security and safety for all of us is certainly high on my agenda. I think I indicated to you my family has a great concern for wellness and health. My wife is in the medical profession, so you'd expect that to be the case. I have been interested in that type of thing for many, many years. So those types of amenities are considerably important to me. In terms of who's being overserved or underserved, I don't have a clue, to be honest about it. I do know that there are folks in the Sierra Canyon area, some of you perhaps, who have some concerns. I'd like to hear what they are personally. But the responsibility is not just for the board, but for each and every one of us to step forward and to let folks know what it is your concerns are so that they can be addressed. The burden falls on all of us, not just the Somerset Owners Association Board of Trustees. And finally, with regard to the interests of those who feel underserved, I can only tell you that my individual concern is to hear the perspectives of everyone and to look at them sincerely so that we can get the broadest attention to everyone who lives in Somerset. Thank you.
Thank you. We are going to now have closing statements. And how about we shoot that microphone down and we'll start with Dan.
My closing statement, I think, will be fairly brief. If I'm elected to the board, I can assure you that all decisions will have a firm and definite financial basis, and all actions will be open and transparent. Lastly, I pledge that homeowner input, all homeowner input, will be solicited for all major decisions.
I think like any new director, I would bring fresh perspectives to the board. I'm a strategic thinker. I certainly would comply with the law and the CCNRs and all the governing documents, which compel the board to consult with the homeowners at appropriate intervals and for selected transactions. I've been fortunate to have an excellent education with a bachelor's in business administration and a Juris Doctorate that is directly relevant to the director's duties. My working career has likewise been directly relevant to the director's duties. As a CPA, I became conversant with audits and taxes. As a corporate controller, I became conversant with accounting and financial management. And with almost 3 decades of real estate development experience, working mostly with the development of planned communities, I was even paid to become highly knowledgeable in the inner workings of the resulting homeowners associations, again, from startup to transition to owner control and beyond. I'm also fortunate to be retired and healthy. This allows me the time to work with the other directors to continue improving the common area maintenance and to continue enhancing the community's amenities, commensurate with the first-class Somerset community that we've come to expect. And I will work to accomplish this without increasing the dues. This isn't my first rodeo either. These experiences, coupled with my financial, managerial, and real estate development training and experience, have prepared me to be an effective Somerset board member. Imagine you have a multi-million-dollar enterprise and you need help. You have several volunteers. Well, you are all shareholders in a multi-million-dollar enterprise. So who are you going to call? I respectfully request your vote. Thank you. And I have my bio up here if you want to pick it up afterwards.
Thank you. Danielle?
First of all, thanks everyone for coming this evening. We appreciate you taking the time to listen to the 5 candidates and what we have to say. I'd like to say that I want to continue to promote Somerset as a viable, vibrant, and desirable place to live. My goals are to continue to maintain the growth and amenities that are so important to not only our quality of life here in Somerset, but also our property values. I want to promote the future growth of the community, foster and increase real estate values, and be an advocate for the master plan of the development. When elected again, I will be a forward-thinking, proactive dedicated and hardworking member of the board. I will continue to listen to all points of view, make informed decisions that will be in the best interest of our community. The success of the Homeowners Association is extremely important to me on both a personal and a professional level, because I believe in all the community has to offer my family and the homeowners who live here and those who will live here in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. When I visit with people, I hear a common theme about Somerset, and it's a great place to live. And that's why I'm running for the board, because I want to be a part of the future of this community. I want to be involved. I want to get engaged. Some of my neighbors think I'm crazy and nuts for doing this. What am I getting myself into? But I'm really, I feel honored to be in front of you tonight. As a neighbor, I think we all have great choices here. You have 5 people that want to participate, and I think that's the most important thing that all of us have to offer. Something that I want to just discuss about decisions is I don't think all decisions need to be black and white. This is right, this is wrong. If we make every decision based on a penny or a nickel or a dime, that could lead us into some wrong long-term decisions for our community. And that's something that I think I can offer the group, is that I'm a good listener, I work well with others, I want to see things with the big picture in mind. Sure, we could save a few dollars if we didn't hand out towels at the workout centers. But we all enjoy those towels at the workout center. So I think that there's some certain skills that need to be involved here in terms of working with others and most importantly, listening, not only to one another as board members, but also listening to people that we interact with in the neighborhood. And thank you very much.
You folks have some very tough choices ahead of you. I've gotten to know a bit about the other candidates, and I would honestly say they're all excellent. We have been here since 2006, and God willing, we will be here many, many, many more years. My family is concerned, as you folks might be, about preventing real estate values from falling, about the safety and security of our community, no matter which roundabout, the continued quality of life, health, and well-being as residents of Somerset, about the beautiful views of the foothills, irrespective of which section one lives in. Like most of you folks, our children are already grown up. But you can bet that safety of children affects all of us, regardless of which half-mile stretch of the parkway one might live. My 3-year experience with the Community Emergency Response Team, that's a group sponsored by the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, did not train us to ask first, which section are you from? Before we would help you. Folks, we are all part of Somerset, and my goal is to serve all the residents of Somerset fairly, equally, and without bias to particular sections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, candidates, and for everyone being here. It's now time to have homeowners questions. So the rules are for the homeowners questions, no longer than 30 seconds to ask the question. And the candidates who are asked to respond will have 2 minutes to respond. And I think if there's going to be a lot of people that would like to ask questions, you can just line up right here and just keep passing the microphone. And hold it better than I did, right?
Hello, my name is Stephanie, and I am a mother of 2 young children here in Somerset. And while I appear to be in the minority tonight, I know that I represent hundreds of families here in Somerset. I believe that the 3 candidates or 3 board members who are going to remain on the board are all gentlemen that don't have children in their households. And I would just like to know how each of you would be able to represent me as a person with a young family here in Somerset.
Oh, are you asking everyone?
Oh, everyone.
Okay. Chris, Steve, you want to start off?
Okay. I haven't lost interest in children. If anything, I've lost interest in their living with me. But when you get to be my age, you'll understand exactly what I'm saying. Nonetheless, children are an important element in any community. They provide the vibrancy and the enjoyment that we all have in watching families of all ages and families, of course, like yours, with youngsters. I think it's vitally important that we have playground facilities, that we have safe road crossings, that we do what we can to encourage children to be part of this community. And I will continue to look at things in that perspective.
Thanks, Stephanie. And I think I've already explained. I have a 7-year-old who's in first grade and a 4-year-old who's at the preschool here near our neighborhood. So I think that I would identify well with where you're at in your stage of life. What I want to just demonstrate right now is that I think on any type of organization there needs to be diversity, and I think that that's something that should be embraced. So when you're looking at your selection for a board member, we want a diverse board. We want people with different backgrounds, different beliefs, and different stages in life. So I think everyone can add a strength there. But raising a family here in Somerset is critical for my family. One reason we moved here is because of all the amenities and services that are already offered. We wear the town center out all the time. Our kids are in kids corner all the time, which is a daycare that they allow for if you're going to use one of the amenities like working out or something like that. I think they're wonderful. I think that this community really is kid friendly and family friendly, and I don't think it's just for young families in terms of being a welcoming atmosphere. And I think that you see that everywhere you go in Somerset. The people going for walks are from every stage of life, and I think that that's healthy. And I think as a board, when decisions are made, they need to take into account all neighbors, not just certain groups. But just to speak to your point, Stephanie, I'm very interested in the community being, kid friendly and safe and a good place to raise a family.
What I will say is I'll go back to what we know about the demographics here in Somerset, that 40% are under the age of 18. As the only female and the only mother on the Homeowners Association board currently, I can attest to the fact that when it comes to families and children, I definitely have a bias. I do know that you can probably talk to my fellow board members here that when issues do come up, I tend to take the very conservative approach in that, yes, it needs to be good for our homeowners, but it also needs to be good for those families with children. So that we're not just taking into account the 20% that we hear from, we're taking into account the voices of those that we don't hear from because they are busy raising families. I do know that one of the things that I've talked about is getting flashers on our crosswalks because kids go back from town center to the park constantly and you can't see them in the middle median because of the trees. So I feel as though I have my ear to the ground when it comes to the moms and the kids in this community because we interact with them constantly. My little boy happens to be friends with Stephanie's little boy. So I feel as though I'm very in tune with that portion of the community that isn't afforded the time to come out and have their voice heard.
Well, my wife and I juggled being a two working professional family with 3 children, and that was a time in our life when we didn't have time to devote to service to the community. And now coming from that background, and now as grandparents, we're constantly reminded of the boundless energy of our youngsters. The association must provide great amenities for the kids. The summer fun, the sports, the swimming, not only need to be maintained but expanded. Safety, I think, traffic safety in particular is important, but diversity of amenities is certainly top of mind to me, and service to the children are a service to the community.
Thank you. My wife and I did not have any children, but I do have 5 godchildren and 2 kids named after me. So I have some familiarity with the challenges of raising children. And I would say I have championed at past board meetings enhancing security at Somerset, and I'll continue to do that because I think that that's an area where we could spend more money and get results. Likewise, if our community is becoming younger, then we need to scale our amenities. And that's why we exist, to serve our community. And I would hope that that's what's showing up in the survey as well. So, that's
My name is Andrea Taylor, and I'm on the Sierra Canyon Architectural Review Committee. And we are subordinated by about 3 or 4 levels when decisions have to be made, ultimately to your board. I'm very concerned to hear tonight that when the survey was done, the top 2 priorities were exercise equipment and aquatics, because you're here in our building, we already have that. I didn't hear anything tonight, so I guess what I want to hear from you is what specifically can you do? And I don't think you're responsible for getting our people to print in responses to your survey, but what specifically can you and will you do to address the needs of our community, because it is unique, not taking away from children's needs or anything, but we have very specific needs that are different, and particularly when we have facilities that are duplications of what you're talking about.
And who's what? Is that for everyone? Please. Okay. Let's start with you again.
Sure.
Okay.
I have to admit to you that I am not familiar with the issues you've just raised. But as I've said several times this evening, my concern is for all the residents of Somerset. And if there are those folks here that are being underserved in an architectural sense, I plan to look into that to better understand it and to see what can be done. Because at this point, I certainly do not know all the ramifications of what you've raised.
Well, I think the most important thing is for whoever is on the board, whether it's a candidate or 2 this evening or the entire board, is that they need to be willing to listen to the needs of all residents. You brought up an interesting thing. You said that, duplication of services or amenities, and there can be a positive and a negative thing associated with that. But when I got here a little bit early, I visited with some of the residents of Del Webb, and I got an overwhelmingly positive response about the current amenities. And I think duplication is okay in some areas. Having your separate workout facilities seems to be working. I think the bigger concern that may be, hidden with what you were saying is, what are we going to do when we have more and more residents? Because that's inevitable. As I said earlier, Northwest Reno is a desirable place to live. People want to move here. The growth is going to continue. And how do we serve all residents? And even if we have some separation in community centers, how do both groups get fair representation, if that's the way to put it. And I think that that's something that likely needs to be addressed, and I appreciate that you brought that up. There is a challenge with surveys, and Danielle, I think, has already brought that up, that most people don't respond to surveys. I did not do the 25 times per household, but if we were counting, I should have. But, those were things that were passionate to me, and that's how I responded in the survey. But we get very few respondents in any type of survey situation, so I think there probably needs to be more public forums or reaching out to community members, and that's going to be a challenge for anyone that's elected on the board. But most importantly, there needs to be a willingness to listen and to really look at things in the fairest way possible. Thank you.
I may have mentioned that I'm on a team in regards to the country club lease agreement, and one of the things that we have done is brought in members of the Sierra Canyon Homeowners Association to say, in the event that we can renegotiate this for more amenities, what is it that is important to you, Sierra Canyon? What is it that you would like to see happen for your community? One of the overwhelming responses was pickleball courts, because tennis is very crowded and the pickleballers can't get on when they want to because they've got a lot of tennis. I also understand that there's now bocce ball leagues, and that that's becoming very, very popular. I will say that in board decisions that we make and that the issues that are brought forth to us, we are very cognizant of all of Somerset, whether that means you live behind a gate, whether that means you live in an over 55 community, or if you're in the village. It is of utmost concern that we take care of the needs and address the issues of all of our residents here. So again, I can say that we have brought in members from the Homeowners Association saying, hey, listen, what is it that would be enticing for you, not just, for people with young children. So I can say that I have seen that addressed. And again, we need people to come forth and say, these are the things that we are experiencing in our community or our sub-community, and these are the things that we'd like our board to address. So we also need to hear from you so we can make better decisions.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm a member of the Facilities Committee of the Sierra Canyon Association, and it's been active for about 3 months now, and I'm sure we'll become involved at some point in communicating with the Somerset board on amenities. But I believe the more cross representation we can have, the better the communication will be. The Somerset Owners Association does represent the entire community, and so it has the. I can't say the same responsibility to the Sierra Canyon residents as we do to children, but certainly we want to look at diversity. Anytime we have amenities, we want them used. Sierra Canyon does have its own separate maintenance assessment, which pays for this facility and these amenities, but there definitely are opportunities for more cross-utilization that both boards should look into. Thanks for your question.
Yeah, until just before this meeting, I wasn't aware that there were issues with the Architectural Guidelines Committee, so I have to plead ignorance on that. But what I would say is that if there are issues, then the two boards need to get together and identify and resolve a long-term solution, and one that is durable so that it's not something that has to keep being revisited. And I would say that that's the case for anything that comes up where there might be a perceived difference of interest between Sierra Canyon and Somerset. Now, as far as the amenities and the clubhouses go, under the current structures, Sierra Canyon residents pay for this clubhouse, and the non-Sierra Canyon residents pay for the town center. And any expansion of Somerset amenities that would include both, should Sierra Canyon decide they want to do that, then they certainly would have a chance to vote on that. But if they decide they don't want to do that, then that's their prerogative as well.
Can I just make one comment? I didn't mean to suggest that there was a problem between the art committee and you. I just was suggesting or explaining that there's a hierarchy, and for me that means that it's really, really critical that we know that you are, hearing us.
Hi, my name is Adrian Goh. First, I'd like to thank the Elections Committee for holding the Candidates Night, duplicating it in Sierra Canyon. This is in real term a recognition of the importance of the Sierra Canyon component of the Somerset Homeowners Association. I'm a numbers man. Let me give you some numbers. Sierra Canyon has 900 households and counting. Total households in Somerset today is, if I remember correctly, is 2,244. 900 upon 2,200 is approximately 38%, a significant percent of your members. So I would like to ask the candidates to let us know in real terms, not in general terms, if elected, how would you make sure that the voices of Sierra Canyon residents are heard? For example, what is held tonight?
You need to cut it off.
Okay, like what is done tonight, a duplication giving us air time. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think everyone has asked that, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. You want to start with Dan? Microphone's down there.
I guess I'll just reiterate what I said before, and that is I think all major decisions should involve all homeowners and a vote of all homeowners, particularly if it involves major expenditures of money. And so Sierra Canyon members would certainly have an opportunity to participate in those votes in proportion to their ownership of homes. I do think having a second meeting like this here is useful because it makes it more convenient for Sierra Canyon people to get together. And quite frankly, there's no reason why, once we get out of the loft agreement, we can't have homeowners association meetings up here once in a while. That is something that makes it more conducive to bring people into meetings. So, it just seems to me that as long as we engage all homeowners, then we'll be doing our job.
I second that. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I was just thinking about some city council meetings that they started holding them on in different parts of town instead of always holding them at City Hall. And certainly, I guess there's not a reason that either the board or some of the committees might occasionally have a meeting down here. If attendance is not high, certainly if attendance is not high up at the TCTC, then why not rotate down here from time to time and give people here a more, an easier opportunity to participate. Personally, I feel comfortable that communication will increase between the two associations if I'm elected. So thanks for your question.
I would say working with the, currently on the board of directors, we do want to hear from you. And part of what we need to do is establish more open lines of communication. If that means that we need to have a liaison between the, board of directors in Somerset and the board of directors in Sierra Canyon, so be it. I also understand that Sierra Canyon is still a developer-controlled board. So there's, in so much as we can, we want to hear from you. Again, part of that comes from our residents. We don't always know what's going on unless people come to us and say, hey, this is something that we really need, or would you consider this? Absolutely. You know, if we can create better communication, if we can hold meetings to make, you know, board meetings more accessible in various locations, we can do that. We're open to suggestions, but again, we can't read people's minds, and we need to hear from our residents.
If elected, I am committed to coming to your wine social events with my wife. I mean, I heard earlier this evening 100 people attend, which is fantastic. But just to echo the comments that I've already said, that I think this is a good start. You know, that you know, the most important thing though is that there's face-to-face contact. You know, a survey is a great way to get information, but it's very difficult to have any connection when you do something like a survey. And, you know, open forums like this or social gatherings, I think, will be very important moving forward. And, you know, you're right, you know, 38–40% of the homes in this community are located right here. You know, we have a challenge. We have the Village, the View, Somerset, Sierra Canyon. And my guess is that all four groups feel underrepresented or underserved in some capacity. And if decisions are made, how is it going to impact me? How is it going to impact the street that I live on? And those are very valid things as a homeowner to have for concern. You know, I have them as well. Just to illustrate that with the Washoe County School Board, not to go to the rezoning issue again, but you know, there is a debate, if they rezone these school districts, what roundabout is the cutoff? You know, that's a hotter topic than this golf course issue. You know, so there are some issues that really can impact a lot of people. You know, but unfortunately, we do have too many residents that feel underrepresented. But I think the best way to, you know, bridge that gap is to have some type of interaction, not on the computer or the telephone, but you know, something like this, whether it's formal or in an informal setting. And I think that we have two great community centers to host those types of events. Thank you.
I wish I could provide you the specifics that you're seeking, but I'm not familiar with the mechanics of how the meetings in the past have been held. I will relay to you my personal experience with regard to the Community Emergency Response Team meetings. They were almost always held here. And guess what? The participation from Sierra Canyon was greater than in the rest of Somerset.
Yes.
So that suggests to me that more meetings need to be conducted here, that more of the SOA business needs to be done here as a welcoming, as an invitation to make sure that we are including all the residents of Somerset, and most particularly those here in Sierra Canyon that feel like stepchildren. Thank you.
My name is Roy Gula, and I would like to ask all the candidates, with the exception of Danielle, I have a simple question, and I would like a simple answer in one word. Do you feel that the current board is doing a good job, a fair job, or a poor job? Thank you.
I wish one could answer with one word, but I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. And the reason I can't give you a one-word answer is because there are an awful lot of issues that remain on the table. And as hopefully as an elected representative of the board, I will need to look more specifically, more carefully, more thoroughly at the issues that are presently on the board. Obviously, there are so many concerns that I think it's a reasonable conclusion to draw that things could be done better.
My one word would be fair. I think we need to look at the history of what the process has been. The current board members have been serving for, is it correct, 1 year? So 1 year, and I think we need to be patient with those that have served already. Have they made all the right decisions? Probably not, but it's not for lack of effort and energy and commitment. But the real challenge with evaluating the current board and the decisions that have been made is that it has been a 12-month type of a cycle. And, from what's been described to me, as it was most likely a very difficult transition period that had to take place. I greatly appreciate what the board has done. Have they made all the right decisions? Well, no. If I'm on the board or two others in this group, will they all make the right decisions? No. That's not going to happen. But again, I think there's a lot of integrity within the board. I think there's honesty if people are asked direct questions or given direct answers. But we do have 5 new members that want to participate, and I find that encouraging, that people want to improve what has already started. And in my book, it's off to a good start already.
That's a good question, but a tough question. And I guess I'm an impatient person, so I understand, what the new board has faced. And, the thing is each of the directors contribute different amounts to that board. Overall, I would say the results of the board have exceeded my expectations. There are a couple of the board members, several of the board members that I've had to work with that I've found to be excellent. So I think you really have to look at the individuals, not the board as a whole. Because if you get 5 crackerjack people on that board, things will rock and roll, and that's why I want to participate. Thanks.
Yeah, I would say, in all fairness, the board hasn't been in business long enough to be rendering judgments. You do that at election time anyway. I think in terms of the board that they replaced and the SDC Blake Smith controlled board, they're a vast improvement. And I would say there are some things I've been disappointed that they haven't moved fastest enough, particularly in the area of greater transparency. In other areas, I think they've moved very aggressive. So let's give them a chance to do their job. And certainly if you put me on the board, we'll move it along faster.
Any other questions? That's it. So thank you all so much for attending, and thank you candidates for participating tonight.